Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Penta Podcast. This is our initiative to bring you all opinions from the leading voices of the industry across various topics relevant to the gaming and esports industry. I'm Kiran and Noojibail, COO at Penta Esports. Over the last 16 years, I've been a competitive player, esports commentator, live producer, show director, among others. In today's exclusive podcast, I'm joined by the team behind FAU-G Domination. With the recently revealed FAU-G Domination trailer, what can we expect from the game? We'll find out. Here's who are with us today. We have Vishal Gondal, co-founder at nCore Games and founder and CEO of health and wellness company Goki. He's considered one of the fathers of the Indian gaming industry who founded India Games back in 1999. Deepak L is the CEO and co-founder at .9 Games. He was one of the founding members of India Games. Later, he went on to work with the Walt Disney Company India. We also have Srinivasan Veeraraghavan. He's the co-founder of .9 Games. He has led several game development projects over the years for companies like Walt Disney Company India and India Games. Welcome, everyone. Firstly,
Thank you.
congratulations on the launch of the FAU-G Domination trailer. Before we begin, let's have a look at the trailer.
टीम ब्रावो लोकेशन पर पहुंच गई है।
Wow. Let's talk about the trailer. This is the first time we got to see in game footage of FAU-G Domination, and it looked really amazing. I want to hear more about the game from all of you. We'll start with you, Vishal.
Again, thanks, Kiran, for inviting us on your podcast. FAU-G has been a journey now for almost 2.5, 3 years for the nCore team. And the Josh we all have for FAU-G as a brand and FAU-G as a concept can completely be felt when you see the trailer of FAU-G Domination. If you recall, FAU-G was possibly the among the few games in India who got almost 16 million downloads on day one when we had launched the Galwan Valley episode. And overall, we have done over 45 odd million downloads. But this journey has been of immense learning. And what you see today, and I will love to have Deepak and Srini also talk about, is in a way truly historic. Uh, this is really the original India Games team. And I was happy that somehow, we've been able to collaborate, invest, work together with .9 and get the missing piece what FAU-G required. So what you are actually seeing today is वो मिसिंग पीस जो हम लोग ढूंढ रहे थे एंड एक बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग चीज है सी व्हेन वी लॉन्च द गलवान वैली एपिसोड वी वर ट्राइंग टू बी ओरिजिनल राइट एंड द ओरिजिनलिटी वाज गलवान वैली डिडंट हैव वेपन्स वो पूरा हैंड टू हैंड कॉम्बैट बट देन एवरीबॉडी सेड नो 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 वी वांट वेपन्स वी वांट गन्स वी वांट मल्टीप्लेयर so we then pivoted to start building a multiplayer game. So what you are seeing today, the FAU-G multiplayer was actually think of it like the early test that is multiplayer as a concept going to work in FAU-G. And then when we got the validation कि हाँ ये चल रहा है, what we wanted was the right engine, the right technology, and the right team to build this. And that's where .9 came in. तो अभी आप जो FAU-G domination देखेंगे and the trailer you saw, it is funny that when we were trying to be original, people were like, well, why there are no guns and why there is no FPS. And now when ye trailer mein we are showing you FPS, oh, this is Call of Duty, this is CS:GO, this is and my whole point was, listen, this is a genre. Call of Duty was a copy of Quake, and Quake was a copy of Wolf. If you look at the entire generation of games, so matlab, problem is people's expectation is always going to be very different. But this is a game we are building for ourselves. So 4G Domination is truly going to be a landmark game in the history of Indian gaming. And I would love to hear from Deepak and Srini, who are putting their sweat and blood into 4G Domination.
Hey, thanks, Kiran, for having us on your podcast. What Vishal said is the background of what has happened. OG, the story is historic. That it's a 16 million. We were trying to figure out which of the other games have done 16 million on day one, and it's a huge number. I think so. It's a big responsibility on this team right now to take this legacy forward. I think so. It's a great brand, and as I said, Vishal has said about the background. Currently, the game is going to be completely on a new engine. So Galwan was a single player. We did that. This is going to be a multiplayer. So हम एक नया engine लेके आ रहे हैं, and we are developing this on the new engine. और the whole focus is कि इसको एक esports capable product game बनाए, basically which will be no pay to win for us. And as I said, finally it has to go to the mass. We are trying to see how finally everybody who has a 2 GB device or a 10 GB device, everybody are able to play this game.
Srini, I think the challenges that come with doing a single player versus a multiplayer is completely different. Tell us more about what you have in store with 4G Domination.
So, thanks, Kiran, first of all, for having us. Welcome from the 4G production team back here. So doing multiplayer obviously is a big challenge, right? And as Vishal rightly said, like there is a big community which loves the 4G game. It's a very passionate audience which loves it. They hate it or they love it, but they what they like about it is like they want to have an Indian game out there which they want to really want to play, and they really need a quality game. So quality and keeping performance both as a very high production benchmark for us was very critical for the team back here. So we have left no stone unturned. We have set ourselves a very high production quality bar. As Deepak rightly said, we have to cater to all kind of different devices, right? Right from the low end to the high end. We don't want to disappoint anyone, and we have set a very high benchmark for ourselves internally, and the team is kind of aligned to reach that goal. You would have seen that in the trailer as well. What you see, I keep repeating this, is like what you see is just 20% of our effort, what you see on the trailer. And that's something which we feel like, hey, we have to reach the higher bar. So right from, say, the playability, the rendering, the characters, the maps, how they feel, all the different gameplay modes. We are going to make sure, the high bar is set, and we will have various different kinds of multiplayer modes. It's just not going to be the classic TDM. You'll be able to play 1v1. You'll be able to do, all different configuration, custom lobbies. You'll have different multiplayer gameplay modes, which will slowly reveal as well. So there's a lot of excitement on the multiplayer aspects.
And the fact that you mentioned that it's only about 20% that's revealed in the trailer, which on its own was already giving us goosebumps. We're super excited to see what 4G Domination has in store for us. We're going to be discussing more about it as we go through this podcast. But before we go there, Vishal, this is the second edition of 4G. The first one, like you mentioned, was a single player campaign mode around the Galwan Valley. What were the learnings from the first edition, and were any of them leveraged to bring in 4G Domination?
See, again, right? So you have to understand one thing, Kiran, that so far there has not been any ambitious IP gaming projects in India. There are just a handful. Indus is doing something. There was Raji, which we talk about. But if you take these two, three examples, unfortunately, इंडिया में कुछ हुआ नहीं है गेम रियल गेम डेवलपमेंट पे इवन दो millions and millions have been spent on real money gaming. There was hardly any investment come into real fun gaming, which
Yeah.
is the need of the hour. And the second problem is we are constantly compared to Call of Duty, or PUBG or BGMI or all these games where multi-billion, and in fact Call of Duty, if you know, the entire franchise has over $1 billion invested. So I jokingly say we are like हमारा we are like the Chandrayaan team, right? That हमारा few million dollars का भी budget नहीं है, but we are compared to all the games which are multi-billion dollars in IP budget, and Tencent, as you know, it's this big Chinese games company which itself is over so many billion dollars. So मतलब हमें we are literally the underdogs getting here. And the first version of FAU-G was to even test the idea कि कोई Indian game खेलेगा कि नहीं. Because when we went to investors and when we were speaking to other people, they were like, "अरे, why will anybody even want to play an Indian themed game?" I think FAU-G was able to break that barrier and show that there are people, in fact, just like the entertainment industry. And I always say that, right? Entertainment industry, all the Hollywood movies can come here, but finally, what works in India is either Bollywood or our South Indian movies, and the biggest blockbusters are from India. Similarly, Netflix shows or Amazon Prime, any content business, the local content will always dominate international content. However, that is not the case in the gaming world, where even today, if you look at the top 10 or top 50 games on Google Play Store, hardly a few games will be from India. And I think
Yeah.
that is the challenge we are trying to break. Of course, our biggest handicap is that we are working on shoestring budget. And Deepak and Srini can talk about how they are having a very, very small and agile team of literally 20, 30, 40 people who are set to build something which is going to be world class.
Absolutely. And another thing, of course, that you mentioned right at the beginning, Vishal, was the fact that, the first game was single player. The second one, now FAU-G Domination, is a multiplayer. So, w- what was the vision behind going multiplayer, Vishal? Was that something that was already planned off the get go when the first edition came out, or was that something that you decided down the line after the initial FAU-G version had come out?
Yeah, again, we always look at feedback. A lot of FAU-G fans are constantly messaging us on social media, emailing us. So initially, to be very frank, our idea was that we would take the stories and make multiple campaign modes. Indian soldiers are Paramveer Chakra holders. There are so many stories of, fights which our soldiers have been, which have been iconic. And that was the initial idea. But after the Galwan Valley episode, we realized that people are saying that listen, Galwan theek tha, but what we want is hardcore multiplayer action. People are used to playing those multiplayer games. So we had to fast forward what we thought would take a little longer for us to reach. We had to fast forward from the single player mode to create the multiplayer mode, and you will see we created very original levels. If you see the level, there is a level which is inspired by Rajasthan. There is a level which is inspired, in the Andaman Islands, for example. So if you see the kind of level, and there is a Mela episode level which is inspired by a real Mela. So what we were trying
Right.
to do was test that are people looking for these kind of levels, because article, if you see Call of Duty, the levels are completely alien to us. Or even if you
Yeah.
look at any other games, these places are not what we are used to. Similarly, the character design also, right? We have one of our Sardarjis who is the main character, and as you know that the community of Sikhs are always considered the most amazing warriors. So we wanted to depict that. But there is a whole host of other warriors we are bringing in to FAU-G. So we had to fast forward a lot of what we did, but people don't realize that fast forward आर्ट में हम लोग फिर भी इजीली कर सकते हैं, बट टेक्नोलॉजी फास्ट फॉरवर्ड करना इतना आसान नहीं है. People are iterating, right? So the problem of these things is that you have to build version 1, version 2, version 3, test, and maybe when you are at version 30, you have a stable build. So our challenge was that we were running against the clock, and our version 1 was getting compared to version 500 of any of the other established games. Which is where we thought कि अगर हमको एक लीप करना है, हमें आगे बढ़ना है, then nCore needs to collaborate with a team जिसके पास ये technology skills है on capability, and that's where .9 came in. They had the engines, they had the entire esports layer, they had a lot of the tech which we needed. So या तो हम लोग रुक के और 2-3 साल लगते हैं हमको ये टेक बनाने के लिए, but I think the idea of collaborating between nCore and .9 was really that कि किस तरह best of both worlds meet and we can bring out FAU-G Domination, which we believe is going to be our best attempt. Again, I'm saying it's our best attempt. You know, maybe people may again hate it, but that's fine. But we will continue to make these attempts.
I completely concur, Vishal. I think the one on the experience side, the single player campaign had a very strong message and a motive behind it, which I think it did very well in achieving. While the multiplayer side is more towards appeasing the inner competitor in all of us. I think over the last few years with esports picking up in the country, I think a lot more players now are looking for competitive experience where they get to compete against individuals across the country and beyond. And that is going to be something that I'll be keeping a very close eye on to see how FAU-G Domination esports develops and how the athletes eventually grow for the game in the coming years. Next up, I want to talk to you, Deepak, and there were a couple of differences, of course, between the two games that we already discussed. One was, of course, it's a single player title in the first edition. The second one is a multiplayer one. And uh, in fact, we did get a little bit of a sneak peek from Srini as well with respect to what kind of modes we can see. But besides these, what other key differences are there between the two editions, Deepak?
So, Shri mentioned, Vishal mentioned now, Vishal has been saying this for a long time that we need an IP that works in India, made in India. So the idea was how we can upgrade the FAU-G first edition to the second edition, right? So yeah, the it's a natural path, right? So for single player, multiplayer, it's gonna happen. And as Shini said, multiplayer is there. You have a five on five. You may have a one on one. You may have a 3-on-3. So that's something that we think that people will play. Then you have a social integration. So as Vishal said, we have our own platform. We had everything that is there in our previous games and in our previous parts that we have built. We have sort of integrated that in the new FAU-G build. So there will be a social integration. There's going to be a custom lobby that you can create. You can create your own tournament. People can do their own stuff. You can have gaming competition to the product. So it's a completely thing that binds to esports. And as I said, for esports, it has to be no pay to win, right? So that's something that we are focusing on, and hopefully we can sort of drive that so that we can do more collaborations on the esports friends on that. And again, a new engine, new art, new gameplay, new stories, new rendering pipelines, different. If you go into more detailed stuff, you will say whether there is physics based on lighting, physics based lighting. All those things will come in, right? So that's what the difference is. But the whole difference is that it's going to be more competitive. It's been on beta for some time, and now with the new engine, hopefully we can come with a multiplayer game soon.
Amazing, Deepak. I think the new engine and the new movement mechanics, the weapon mechanics is definitely
Yep.
something all of us are going to be super excited about. And like you mentioned, new characters. I was one of the lucky few ones who had a sneak peek of some of the character designs when it was in development, and it looks
Yep.
absolutely amazing. Can't wait for everyone to try out the game when it does eventually launch. Um, Vishal, I want to come back to you. You did mention that with the trailer there were already people kind of making comparisons to different titles out there. Uh, what was the inspiration behind 4G Domination?
So again, right, like I'm saying that the inspiration was really around creating an Indian IP with Indian characters. Now, genres in gaming are only that many. Whether you're
Yeah.
creating a first person, third person, battle royale, TDM. So the modes are only that many. So when we were thinking, we are not trying to say, let's copy this game or let's get inspired from this game. We are saying that we are creating a team deathmatch format in an Indian setting. And that's really what the idea is, with Indian characters, Indian storylines. And I think one other important thing is that if you look at the whole aspect of the 4G design, the entire game has been designed here between Bangalore and Mumbai, where the people working on the games are that passionate about the world of gaming. So we are for 4G for us is not a game, it is basically the crying of Indian developers that we need an Indian IP to succeed. And maybe we won't succeed. But the idea is that there needs to be multiple attempts made. And my only request to the Indian gaming community is that if you cannot, support us, at least don't, try and troll us on the internet and on social media, because we are putting our best effort out there, and we are not asking for your money. We are not asking anything from you. I mean, in that sense. And currently, be a part of helping us build a game. Give us the right kind of feedback. And believe me, the team here is constantly looking to actually develop it. Today, there are a lot of people trying to create videos and saying that we are this and we are that and name calling us. And we are getting a lot of views because there are so many people interested in 4G as a brand, 4G as an IP. And we are just hoping that we will take all the positive energy सबकी, right? सबकी पॉजिटिव एनर्जी को हम लेके एक ऐसी गेम बनाएंगे जिसके साथ हमारे सारे गेम डेवलपर्स एंड इवन इंडिया विल बी प्राउड.
So, Srini, the first edition of 4G was based around the Galwan Valley conflict. Vishal did give us a sneak peek of where some of the maps in 4G domination were inspired from some places like Rajasthan. But is there a specific timeline, setting, or universe, whether it's fictional or non fictional, that 4G domination is based on?
So from the storyline point of view, we are approaching it from, say, the backstory of the interesting characters what we bring, to the 4G domination world. As Vishal already mentioned about, say, the Sardar community, the bravery, the warriors aspect during the first version, say the Dillon character which we had. We want to try to get a similar appeal into the 4G domination world, but a little modern, a little near futuristic feel of it, and which the Indian player community will relate with the game itself. So we're trying to like bring interesting characters, a different feel. We launched one of them in the posters, which we launched a couple of weeks back as well, and we're trying to get work on more on such characters which people will find fun to play with and get it inside the game to enjoy with their peers. So that's the more storyline appeal which we're getting into the game.
Got it. And I can completely relate to the setting that you just mentioned, since I did get to play some of Bazaar, and the elements in it uh, really do resonate with some of the real life experiences that we have, and how that translates into an experience that you feel while playing in the game as well. And I think, to add on, like Vishal had mentioned, there are barely any games out there that have a true Indian setting, and even the ones that do have small little integrations, but not really something that is across the game. And that, I think, is going to be something that is not only going to drive that initial excitement for the players to play, but keep them engaged as they continue to get better at the game and continue competing across the game modes that there are. So next up, Deepak. 5v5 was one of the modes that we've spoken about, and um, is that going to be the primary mode in 4G domination? And if so, why was not Battle Royale looked at as an alternative?
Kiran, everything takes time. The versions will come out. I think so. We are on version 2, and right now the focus is on the TDM. Battle Royale is very much in the pipeline, but currently the focus is to get a good steady experience on TDM, right? So the as I said, as Vishal mentioned, this is we don't want to, we believe we are doing a Chandrayaan mission or it's a mission with a budget. We want to do it right. So I think so. What we can do right and give justice to right now is Stadium. Uh, Battle Royale has its own, there is massive. I think so. It's expensive right now. That's what the constraint is. The tech is also something that we are building. It will take time. It will come out. It has to. It's something that we need to own when we are doing it. So it has to be built in house. So that's primary what it is. And as I said, the experience what we are building is something which need to become mass. It needs to support devices which are locally supported in India. Primarily, 50% of India plays on mass. The entire mass plays on a device which is 2 or 3 GB. So as I said, so you need to give an experience right now which works across. And as I said, it's an ambition. Battle Royale is something that we want to do, but right now the focus is on TD. And as I said, it's not five
And
on five. It is 4 on 4. It is 3 on 3. It's also 1 on 1. So yeah.
so I would say that, we need to get the mix of emotion and technology and storytelling. I think what a lot of the games lack today is we don't emotionally connect to them, because Call of Duty is not our story. The wars of most of the Call of Duty was based on World War I, World War II, then the Afghanistan war. So the entire series of Call of Duty is not emotionally connecting to people in India. Similarly, if you look at CS or even BGMI, they are all given their ownership, etc. They are not going to talk about Indian or celebrate Indian soldiers, uh, which connects with us. Right? And I think that's really what we are trying to do. So from the tech side, of course, we are trying our best to get the best tech out there. But I think the storyline and the emotion and the connect with the character is what we believe is going to differentiate us from any other game.
Got it. And also, just I think what Deepak also mentioned, the fact that, Battle Royale is something that is there in the pipeline, and the fact that it's a new engine, I think, gives players a lot of time to kind of get used to the engine, get used to the new mechanics via the different modes that are there right now, so that when Battle Royale does come in, I think from a competitive standpoint, they're going to be a lot more comfortable with the engine as well to then dive in. So it's going to be a very exciting journey. I'm sure it is for you as well. It's going to be for us on the other side, playing the game as the game progresses. So, moving on. Um, Srini, I think uh, w- we've talked about it in bits, in pieces. We've seen the trailer. Uh, it did give us a glimpse of how the game looks like. What is it that we can expect? Um, but I think the big question is going to be, what is the state of the game currently?
So currently, as you see in the trailer, right, we have all the core systems of the gameplay kicking in. So right from gunplay to multiplayer, of course, through all the different systems, you have all the different game modes kicking in. All say some of the social aspects are also there. So a lot of components are already in. It's already kicking in. We are kind of play testing it every day and trying to resolve, making sure like it's running smooth. As Deepak already said, like the challenge is we want to cover the entire spectrum gamut of devices. Right from 2GB to the highest end, right? We want to make sure everyone gets the best experience possible, and specifically when there is esports involved, you have to make sure it syncs correctly, right? There's not much lag and stuff like that around the gameplay. That's very critical as well. So currently the systems are all kicking in. We are making sure right now it's just elevating that experience. That is one. As I said, it's just 20% what you see out there, right? So everything is going through big, a big polished brush, as I would say. Right from say improving the lighting, improving the movement, the animation, like Vishal was saying, right, getting that Indian feel, we are making sure like if you see there's a lot of knife items inside the game. Traditionally, kata, you're getting to play around the game, you're moving across. There's some of those, weapon style which people will like to use, right? Like knife is a very core part of the Indian, I think, audience. It's very popular across it.
So I just wanted to add that for Srini's team and their developer team, their challenge is that they have to meet the technology and the game smoothness and all the aspects of games which are matured over multiple years and certain games over decades with billions of dollars being spent on them versus we just have a small team with a small budget trying to do it, but we are still confident we'll be able to do it because I don't think so it's about the budget or it's about how much time you have. It's about how much josh and passion you have on this. So the technical skills are there. I don't doubt so. I think the team here has the same technical capabilities as any other team in the world. It is just that game development is an iterative process,
Yeah.
and any game takes time. And I was giving this example the other day to the team that Angry Birds, Rovio, I think it was their 39th or 40th game, right? So
49th game.
before we played Angry Birds, they had to make 38 other games which did did not do well or which tanked before they could get the success. So I think similarly we will have to, if we have to create 38 levels of 4G, we will do 38 levels or 38 versions of it. But ek na ek din we will reach the destination because we have that confidence and that josh and that passion that we have to do it.
Absolutely. And I wish the team the absolute very best as well. We're going to be having that journey together through as 4G domination develops. And Srini, just going to quickly jump back to you. You did give us a sneak peek. You mentioned 2GB just slightly earlier. So I think one more big question that's going to be on the minds of all the gamers out there, in fact, some of the games Vishal mentioned as well earlier do require a pretty high end phone to run them. So I think the big question is going to be, what will be the device specifications required to run 4G domination?
So we have been currently exploring, say, two ways to approach this, right? One is, can we have, say, a singular version which satisfies across from the low end spectrum to the high end spectrum, or a single build, a single SKU out there, or to do justice to the low end devices, can we have a completely ground up optimized version for, say, the low base end devices, like say a typical 2 GB phone running on, say, file size is very critical, right? You would not want a big file size to occupy on your device as well. That's also clear. So maybe have a separate version for, say, the low end aspects, a file specific device on there. And then the high end is obviously the justified. You can have as high as you go with really high end HD textures and stuff like that. So we are still contemplating. We have not finalized on which exact direction to take in, but it's very clear, like as a mandate, we want to support from a technical requirement the broader spectrum. So 2 GB, it could be a specific SKU, a specific build, and a high-end SKU as well, is what initially what our plan is.
Awesome. I think,
So to adding to that, Kiran, I
yeah,
think the thing is, when we go live, when we come out first, it's going to be on anything that is 4 GB plus for sure. And it's, as I said, this is going to be a process. It's going to keep happening every day. And as I said, we need to be mass. We want all Indian gamers to play this, and we need to go as low as possible, but the first cut is definitely going to be anything that is going to come up is going to be 4 GB plus devices.
got it. Um, I think that is a lot of information to sink in for all the gamers, and we came in excited. We are even more so now uh, going out of this podcast. But before we wrap things up, um, I want to throw this out to all of you. What can the gamers expect going forward from 4G domination? Let's start with you, Vishal.
I think this time I want the gamers to have low expectation. I think part of our problem was that we were always compared to, the biggest and the best in the world. So expectations are always high. So it's time we will say keep your expectations low and hopefully we will surprise you. And eventually we will exceed your expectation. But currently, give us a chance and keep your expectations low.
I think that's going to be a little hard, Vishal, given that you guys just put out a banger of a trailer. But Deepak, uh, what can we expect?
Going forward, we want to give all gamers a superior gaming experience, be it art, be it gameplay. With new multiplayer, I hope everything is top class, and we will be giving utmost importance to the community. Right, our future development will be driven by the feedback that we get to keep improving the game, implementing new features, new modes that they would like to have. So in short, a community-driven success is what we aim for.
Srini?
Yeah. So, continuing with what Deepak said, right? Listening to the community and incorporating player feedback is going to be drilled into the production out here. And I think that's super critical. We're going to take a lot of player feedback. You can expect that, like, we are listening. We're listening to you across our Discord channels and everywhere, all the comments. We do go through a lot of them, and that's something I think is super critical for us, and being true to the community, right? And you have to also build that trust, like, hey, we do listen, we will make sure we have that higher production value as well inside our game, and listen to all the esports feedback, which is going to be so crucial for us, like, how especially with partnering with you as well, with Penta as well, like, getting all the right feedback on what needs to get into our game, with 4G domination is going to be super critical. So that's, I think, the goal for us over here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
You wanted to add
Kiran, there
something,
is one
Vishal?
very Yeah, I just wanted to add that, we are all, game developers and coders, and they say that you cannot give the same input and expect a different output. So this time for 4G, clearly there is a different input. There is this incredible team of .9 Games which is collaborating with nCore Games. So we have the best of both teams working on this. So the input is different, which is why we are expecting a much superior and much better output. And I hope people will see that soon.
Awesome. Uh, I think I'm uh, I'm gonna leave this with uh, what Vishal mentioned earlier. This is like a Chandrayaan mission. Chandrayaan was a success, and hope and wish you all
Chandrayaan 3
the
was success.
abs.
Chandrayaan
Yes,
3.
three was yes, and I'm wishing you all that 4G domination is an absolute success as well. Thank you so much, Vishal, Deepak, Srini, for joining us and giving us some
for
amazing
having us.
insights into 4G domination. Um, Thank you all for tuning in as well into the podcast. Keep an eye out for further announcements from the game. This is ShaDeSLaYeR signing off.